Welcome, everyone, to the Super Connector, where we talk about all things related to the world of influence. Everything from sales to leadership, networking, and my personal favorite, how to win friends and influence people. Today, we have a special guest, Alexi Coffey. Alexi is a high ticket closer and sales coach. He's made more than $3 million in commissions throughout his career. He's been on the same offer for 6 years and is now coaching sales professionals one on one. He now consults business owners and helps to generate more revenue as a chief revenue officer. This is the second time that I've brought Alexi on here. How are you doing, Alexi?
Yeah, good man, good. Good to be back. Hey, it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I'm probably 40 kilos heavier. Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. Holy smokes. You did that marathon just recently, didn't you? Was it a competition?
yeah, man. Yeah, I got really into it. I sort of hit my early 30s and wanted to be in the best health of my life and went all in on running and yeah, lost a lot of weight, man, and feel amazing. It's been fun.
That's awesome, man. It's so nice to hear that. And I think that what we do in our jobs, in our careers, it's so intertwined with personal development. What we do off camera directly transitions into what we do on camera. And I think that improving ourselves to be the best version of ourselves on a constant basis is it's only going to push us further in our career, right?
Yeah, man. I think yeah, especially sales. Energy is everything. So the more
Yeah,
energy we can get
that's right.
outside of the role, the better it is.
All
Definitely.
right. So, yeah, can you just, so the audience can get to know you better, can you tell us a little bit about what you do right now?
Yeah, for sure, man. Cool. So currently, I consult to a company, Conscious Education, and we've been about 7 years running this company. I came in sort of 6 years ago, and we'd only just launched a brand new product in the personal development space, speaking all things spirituality, personal development, growth, and really getting people into creation rather than trying to, I guess, problem fix. Most personal development's about you've got a problem, you've had a wound, you've had a trauma. Let's try and fix it. We're more about creating a better and letting go of the past and allowing that identity to become the creation. So I started selling that, and it was hard. Obviously you're selling, if you sell supplements, if you sell, business and get rich quick online and all the make money online offers, it's very easy to show a return on investment or a return on your dollar. And so personal development's a bit different. You really need to take someone through much more of a journey, and it's much more of an emotional purchase than it is a masculine purchase. So really quickly, I had to learn, how to connect with people and build super rapport super quickly and then take them through the journey. So that's sort of been my last 6 years of doing that. And I built the company we got it to 1.5 mil a month, which was really, really, really fun. And what I found at that 1.5 million a month was actually more stressful building it to there and spending all the money we're spending on ads and having all the different mouths to feed and all the different people. So about 18 months ago, we sort of internally destroyed what we were doing and chased profit and revenue way more than building a company to say we built a company that was so big. And as a result, we stopped working as much as we were. We went from sort of 15 hour days down to like 4 5 hour days. But we started to make more profit, and it became way more fun. And it was quite an interesting thing, you see in the industry, and there's the Hermoses of the game, chasing their 100 million, their billions. And what we found was it actually wasn't our path, it wasn't our game. And it was actually way more fun to make great money and have time to enjoy the world, which was really, really cool. And it was such a like freeing understanding, because we were like redlining. We went for 5 years straight, spending, anywhere from sort of 300 to 500K every month on ads. And then we'd spend our team spend. And then we had, 15, 16 sales guys that all had to have enough leads. And then we scaled it all down, built in some systems, built in, some amazing processes, really learn our avatar, really learn our person. And then from there, we hired minimal people and we made, more profit. And that's been a really fun creation.
That's quite the journey. I mean,
Yeah, it is. It is.
I mean, throughout that process, you must have learned so much because you were a sales professional first, a high ticket closer, and then you moved into coaching, or you moved into management or coaching, I believe. Now,
Management, man. Yeah. Yeah.
management. So, what was it like transitioning into what you described, a chief revenue officer?
So when I first started, I hadn't sold before. I'd done a bit of network marketing online, sold, a couple $1 million in network marketing, but that was like peer to peer, friend to friend. It wasn't,
Yeah.
a brand new lead that didn't know who you were. So I had a little bit of sales background. I knew how to connect with people. I knew how to talk to them. I had no clue about, straight line or any way of, how to actually emotionally change someone and how to get people to commit. And I just knew, how to post on social media and talk to people till they bought. So that was a big learning. And it took me about 3 to 4 months as a sales guy to start banking, the sort of 7, 8K months that were, more than the average job. And then 6 months in, I hit my first 10K month commissions, which is really fun. And then from there, I sort of sat down with the founder and I was about the eighth month in the company, and I said to him, "Hey, man, I want to build a team for you. I've never done this before, but I just want to build teams. I came from a sporting background, and I was like, I just want to build a team. I want to have other epic people around me, and I want to make way more money. And I knew, building a team would do that for me. So I started to scale and grow the team, and about 18 months in, we had, six guys that were all doing really, really well. They hit their millions in sales in their first 12 months. They were making great comms. And then from there, I sort of stepped into the leadership arm of the company. So it was me, the CEO, the chief marketing operator, and then the head of delivery and head of accounts. And so every week we meet twice a week and really go over everything that's happening inside of the company. So I started to watch the journey rather than just being a sales guy and a sales manager, from every dollar that's spent on this end and every single person that's got a feed and what it spits out at the back end and the profits and everything of the company. So I started to see the whole journey and sort of started to sit there with the CEO and analyze every single thing happening in the company rather than just the sales side of things. And that
Yeah.
really changed my mind into like, every single lead is just worth so much to the company. And
Yeah.
as salespeople, sometimes we disrespect it and we don't actually know what that's doing for the company. So it got to this point where it was all about every single day, me learning methods, systems, structures to make enough money every single day that the CEO could then put more money into the front end, which then became this crazy badass flywheel that got us spending, 5 grand a week, up until 300,000 some weeks. And it was this crazy flywheel because I knew that if I could make money every single day more than he was spending,
Yeah.
I knew the compound effect of the flywheel. And it just allowed me to be able to grow it so much quicker and bigger than what we once were. So it's sort of, yeah, analyzing the whole game rather than just the sales cycle. It's everything that comes through it.
That's such a different perspective, isn't it? What were some things that shocked you when you started to learn about that?
I think the power is, and the big thing that everyone forgets is, if the CEO is mega rich, the company and the salespeople are going to be mega rich. I think a lot of people in the sales industry, they're very selfish and they're just in it to be a sales guy and make good money.
Mhm.
But if you find an offer and a CEO you like and you trust and you believe can actually impact the world and do good things in this world and do justice, I think that's the beauty of the education space. You actually can impact the world. And so if the CEO is on that and he understands business, the richer you make him, the better you become, the better everyone in your team becomes, the more money he can spend, which means the more opportunities become and the richer you all get. And that's like the biggest thing for me. If he's super rich, I'm getting paid on it, I'm getting my comms on what he's making. So that was like my biggest thing. Make him super rich, make him be able to spend as much money as he can easily, effortlessly, and safely. And I'm the one sitting there, man, you spend more, I'll make it back for you. And that was like my real big thing of we just built this, camaraderie that was just let's both do it together rather than you get me leads and I'll make money. It was like,
Yeah.
let's build this company together. And I see in the game, it's not happening between salespeople and even sales managers and the CEO. They're two separate parties.
So there's not, it seems that collaboration beats competition for the most part. So what part
100%.
does, yeah, what part does collaboration play in the relationship between the sales professionals, the managers, and the owner?
Well, it's everything, right? Because if the salespeople are just hungry to make money, then they'll just go and jump on the next shiny thing. They'll get 3 months in and they might do 2K comms, 3K comms, 5K comms, and they've got some guy posting over here about how he just did a 10K comms month for his first 10K, and then they go and join that company because its grass is greener. But the company's selling, some sort of shitty trading thing that gets shut down by the FTC, within 6 months, and then you don't have an offer and your name's tarnished. So it's really about, finding the offer first that actually is good, that's actually on fulfillment, and they're actually fulfilling it, right? They're actually doing a good job. Their clients are happy. They're doing good things. They've got good people. The CEO knows what he's doing, and then, almost marrying it. And just, we're through, sickness and health, and there will be times in business where it's hard. I haven't had, some months have been really hard. When I first started on the offer, my first month, I went from disability care working 80-hour weeks. I'd be pulling in 2K a week to, I think my first month in high ticket sales, I think I made $1,700 in comms. So it's like I lost money, but I saw the vision. I saw what this guy was selling. I saw that it was going to impact the world. And I, rather than just, dating 10 girls, I married the one that I could see that was the right one. And then I stayed with it, and it's, resulted in, I guess, a perfect marriage, you could say. It's rewarded me really well financially.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And as a sales manager and a sales trainer, what do you find are some of the biggest characteristics? Are As a sales manager, what do you find are the biggest differences between a mediocre and an exceptional high ticket closer?
Energy, man. It's energy. We've all heard of the girl in the red dress, the girl that gets drinks bought for her. She's the hottest girl in the room. Everyone looks at her. She controls the room. That's what salespeople need to become. I think when we move away from being a salesperson, every people come into this industry and they get blingy watches, they dress a certain way, they get certain haircuts, they look a certain way, they start to act different ways, they start to treat people different ways. They all get to 70, 80% of the way there. But 95% of clients will actually not enjoy that human, because we don't, right? And so what I found is it's all energy. And the more we become a consultant, I personally think the best consultants in the world are doctors. They sit there, they're worth a lot of money. They sit there, they pull you apart, they ask all your questions, you trust them, you value their insight, and then they refer you to whatever you should do next, and you just believe them and go along with it. That's what we need to become. That's where we go to the next level, having that energy where what we're selling is perfect. This is what you need to do, and just consulting on them rather than being a salesperson.
Yeah.
That's the big shift.
And you spoke about scriptless selling. You don't like to use scripts in sales, right?
No, I don't. It's a journey, man. Like, I think probably in your first month you should be on a script just so you learn about the company and the product and that sort of thing. But every single sales process, Belford said it best, every sale is the same. But people just come in at different levels. And it
Yeah.
depends on the marketing and the CEO what level they're coming to you at. So if you're on, a pretty shitty offer where you're just getting lead form ads, that's going to be a really hard sale, getting a lead form opt-in that barely knows anything, that's joined a Facebook group, to PIF. Whereas, when I look at it from the whole perspective, there needs to be more education. They need to be emotionally bought in. And then the conversation and the phone call should be more about, do they like you as a salesperson? Do they trust this company? If you've given them a lot of free info and educated them already and got them a breakthrough, they're going to like you already. So it then becomes do they like you? Do they trust the product? Can they see themselves doing it? That's the biggest thing. And then from there, it's just obviously handling any objections they've got before we get to the pitch, and then pitching them.
What are some of the most common objections that you face?
I don't get a lot of objections anymore. At the start, I used to get a lot, because I obviously had a bit of work to do on myself. The way I see it is, within the first 15 to 20 minutes, you should be able to get every single objection out, and you should never go to the pitch unless you've gotten all of those objections out. Because pitching 10,000 to someone that has no objections and already understands what they're going to get out of this, and they feel safe and secure, is very different to pitching 10,000 to someone that doesn't feel safe and secure, and then they're going to objection, and then you've got to beat around for 20 minutes objection handling, thinking you're a cool salesperson. But it's way cooler to finish your call in 25 minutes and get a PIF than it is to try and objection handle for 20 minutes and end up 55 minutes in getting someone to buy it and hating you and wanting a refund. It's a very, very different flow of sales.
And that trust is built through the marketing, through the funnel, isn't it?
Marketing, from the CEO through the funnel, the marketing, what you give to them, how you show up on the call, how professional you are, your tonality, the questions you ask, actually caring about them on the call, actually finding their problem and what they actually need, and then solving it for them on the call, and then showing them through in the masculine exactly what they're going to do once they're inside of the program. So all of their brains are relaxed and calm and are making a smart decision
Mhm.
rather than one out of, being pushed into it or being manipulated or some sort of, weird energy exchange people try and do and try and get on top of the client to bully them in. It's very different.
I've always found that suspicious behavior or behavior that is not trustworthy comes through incongruency. But when people
Yeah.
are congruent with what they're saying and how they behave, then I do trust them. So do you think that congruency from the top of the funnel in the marketing down to the sales professional is what builds trust?
Yeah, it is, man. Like there's heaps of studies on it, but like within the first 3 seconds, we've got this crazy reptilian brain that
Mhm.
analyzes if you're a threat or not. So if you jump onto a sales call and the salesperson doesn't look the part, within that first 3 seconds, you've already lost them as a salesperson, and that's it done. You say the wrong.
Yeah.
That's it done. You've got to then try and fight back to get it back, and that comes the whole way through from the first free video or ad that they see, the whole way through to the emails, the text messages that get sent, the whole way through to booking that call, the questions on the call, everything, and then from there the salesperson doing the thing, the contract they have to sign, the whole thing all ties into one. And if that's out for any reason, that reptilian brain comes in, and its whole goal is to keep that person surviving, and it doesn't know that the threat of a person they don't like the look of is any different from a dinosaur chasing them. They don't know a different. They don't know the difference. It's scarcity, man, and tells them to run to abort this mission.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so interesting how our evolutionary mind dictates the outcome of sales processes, isn't it?
yeah, it is. It's
And
wild, man, but I'm glad it's there because it's you if someone's you're feeling that they're like that, they're like that, and it's great
yeah.
we've got that inbuilt bullshit detector because it's definitely needed.
So when a high ticket closer is working on an offer, their values should really align with it because if their values align, that's going to boost revenue, won't it?
I believe they just need to love the product that's being sold and see that it's going to do good in the world, right? The values can align, but it's more so you as a person can honestly, you could sell this to your mum if she had this problem.
Mhm.
It's like a lot of people, they sell the online, get rich quick, but then 95% of the clients aren't getting rich quick or aren't making any money online. And
Yeah,
it's like asking the question, if my mum wanted to start making money online, would I even sell her this course that I'm selling randoms?
yeah,
And if the answer is no, then you shouldn't fucking be selling it. It shouldn't be out there in the world, right? Like, and I think that's what's happened a lot. Some people have figured some things out and they think they're an online guru and they start to run a course and they're great at marketing, they're great at sales, but their delivery and their product actually sucks, but they can make a lot of
right.
money. And if you align with that as a salesperson and people inside the community aren't actually winning, you wouldn't sell it to your mum, you wouldn't sell it to your sister, you wouldn't sell it to your friends.
Yeah,
If they had that problem, then you're a scumbag for selling it to the rest of the world, right? And
yeah,
that's when it's not going to end right because every conversation you're lying to them on. Whereas if you believe it and wholeheartedly say, "Wow, this course that I'm selling, this is epic. People need to learn this. I
yeah.
really enjoy this. I do it myself. I'm taking part in the course. I love it. I love turning up to the calls." That person's going to sell way, way better, way higher.
It comes through on the call, doesn't it? Their passion and
Oh,
their belief in the product. That's their
everything.
energy.
It is. It's the energy of this call. Like everyone can read a script. If it was all just
Yeah,
about scripting and everyone always says, you know, I just closed a 10K PIF DM script and I'll send you the script I used. And it's like, yeah, cool. But a robot should be doing sales then, right? If it was
yeah,
all about a script, a robot should do the sale because
yeah,
that's the thing that humans have. And it's why we haven't been replaced with AI yet because we have that emotional exchange. We have that, thing where we can control our emotions and we're either lying or we're not on the call. And people feel it. People feel it.
I keep on hearing from multiple coaches that the human connection oftentimes is one of the big deciding factors of whether the sale comes. Would you say that that's correct?
Yeah, well, we sell people both, masculine and feminine, right? So in the masculine, it's all about does this make sense? And so for a lot of things that are being purchased today, and with the internet and how much we can research, that's allowed a lot of products to become purchased without salespeople. So
Yeah.
like right now, I'm into running. I know that I can go and research every single shoe under the sun. I can watch countless videos on YouTube. I can watch everything, and then I can make a decision my own and spend, $400, $500 on a pair of shoes.
Yeah.
That used to be classed as high ticket. You used to have to talk to a human, right, to buy a $400 course.
Yeah.
And then so that's starting to happen because we can make decisions in the masculine very easily. Does this make sense? Does this heal my problem? Can I afford it? Yes, no. The thing that really changes it is the emotional side in the feminine. So them actually trusting you, them actually understanding that they can do it themselves, them feeling like it's them feeling like it's a family, them enjoying the community, them actually feeling good about themselves buying it. And then from there, that allows the sale to be, one for us. And that's the job of the high ticket person. So first, marketing and the CEO needs to get that real masculine side of things done, like identify their problem, get them to understand that they need it, get them to understand that you have a system that works, and then the feminine side of you jumping on the call and them connecting with you. And then from there, sell them again in the masculine at the end once they feel calm and collected and safe.
And that is a great predictor of customer success too, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And that's how you
Because
get long-term customers and referrals as well. When
100%, man.
people,
I think like I'm currently writing a book at the moment, and I'm getting AI to interview me. Quite cool. So I just said, AI, become a world-class interviewer. You're interviewing me. This is what I've done. This is what I want to write my book about. Become a world-class interviewer and write it into chapters. So it's
yeah,
sending me prompts and interviewing me and said, something similar to what you just asked. And I was thinking about it, and I really think that, probably 80% of my comms have come from maybe 10%, maybe 20% max of my clients. And so I've had thousands of clients over the years, but the ones that have gone and, come back to me because I've had great connection with them. And, some of my clients have spent over 150 grand with me now. Then they started off at $49 a week subscription. And then I've stayed with them. I've nurtured them. I didn't sell. I wasn't full of shit. I sold them what they needed to buy in that moment. I continued to check in and we've got a lot of different offers that we can sell. And now they spent over 150 grand with me. And they've that's great comms. You do the math on that. They've nearly, made me nearly a car from the, the comms on it. And that's a
right.
really interesting thing, because we never know where the person's at. I always tell my sales guys that just because someone can't afford it in the now, or they can only afford $49 a week, someone could die in their family and leave them a lot of money.
Yeah,
If they own a house right now, a house goes up 7% every single year. If you can continue talking to them, if they own $1 million house right now, they're making 70 grand every year to do nothing. If they've got their money in ETFs and S&P 500, it's going up about the same, 7-8%. And so
yeah.
every single year they're making money. They might change their job. They might get a job that's amazing. And if you're an asshole on the call and you didn't talk to them as a human, they're not coming back to buy. But if you did, when they come back, when they get that money finally, they make you the money. And that's the part of being human that sales guys miss. They look at the buy now, I need to make money this month, versus the long term of what does 3-4 years down the track look like.
And that's how they build so much trust. So it must be the trust that's built up and the authenticity
Mm.
that makes the client continue to come back and do business with you.
Yeah, well, it's family, right? Like that's what it becomes. You're building something with them, and every time we have something that's going to help them more, they want to buy it because they trusted you. You got them results. The company was good. The course was good. You were good. And then they continue to buy. Every time you come back with something else, they buy more.
And when you're coaching someone, how do you teach them to do that on a call? Because that takes a tremendous amount of work. Or does it not? Does it just naturally come from certain people? The ability to build that trust.
I really, really like. Well, the trust is different to the long term follow ups and being in someone's life. So there's two
Yeah.
things, two parts to that question. Trust is a hard one. Some people are just more trustworthy than others, right? Like you can instantly feel it. We've all had that one friend that we can trust with everything, and we've all had that one friend that you don't tell a secret to. And so we that you can build it, you can mold it, but maybe that person that doesn't have that great trust straight away, they probably should be in another career, and they probably
Yeah.
are struggling to gain that trust. Big things I've found is, from the age of 0, most of us, have masculine figures throughout our lives. A
Yeah.
masculine, we'll have a father, it's masculine, we'll have an uncle, we'll have a grandfather, we'll then have, a masculine teacher, a masculine role model that's a soccer coach. We'll then have a masculine boss. We'll then have, a masculine uni lecturer, a masculine principal at school. All this comes through. So the more we can be like that, the more we have that authority, people will trust us straight away. It's I always say, I haven't ever done door knocking, which I'm grateful for, but I truly believe, door knocking, if you're door knocking as if you're a police officer, every single person's going to open their door up, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you're door knocking as a salesperson, people aren't. So we need to become that masculine authoritarian figure and it's, deeper tonality. It's pausing way more. It's way more in control, way more confident, looking them in the eyes of the camera, not looking around, not playing with our face, the way that we're dressed, the way we look, how we act. So that's like that side of it. And then the other side of it is I really love, and I'm not in the place of employing people anymore, but when I start building teams again, the people that I would hire again are people that have competed on the stage in gym, so like
Yeah.
bodybuilders,
Yeah.
or actually like physical, people that have gone through that, because I know that for 12 months they've monitored their food, they've shown up to the gym every single day, they've walked their 10,000 steps, they've monitored their calories. Same as you with your boxing. What day are you up to? Like 200 and something straight.
About 150, 160, something like that. Yeah.
So that's the trait I look for. The biggest
Yeah.
one since I've gotten into marathon running, someone that's competed a marathon, that I would hire them straight away. It's going to, like, when I start hiring teams again and building that'll be one of my questions. What's your biggest physical feat you've ever done? And if they've lost heaps of weight, or they've run a marathon, or if they've done a semi-professional boxing, if they've done semi-professional sports or professional sports, if they've competed on stage in most things, I know that person can be given something, can follow something consistently, even when the days get boring, even when the days get tough, they can follow it. So if they can do that in the physical world, in the call world, they can follow up with people.
Yeah.
So it's just giving them the script, right? They knew how many calories to eat, they knew exactly what to do. It made it really easy for them to get on stage. So when it comes into sales, it's the same. You just need to follow up with these people this many times. Every single one of your people, you should text them at least once a week, check in how they are. You should, call them on their birthday, all these sorts of things that you build into that personality. And that personality, I think, from a sales perspective, they're not going to be your big fuck yeah, blingy guy that comes in and can close the most.
Yeah.
But over the space of 2-3 years, they'll outclose him. You know,
Interesting.
sales normally attracts a loud, obnoxious person that's got the gift of the gab that can talk. That
Yeah.
guy actually becomes full of shit. He'll never last on an offer more than 2 years, and
Really?
yeah, man. Versus the person who is consistent and may not have the gift of the gab, but consistently can sell the same every single month. They'll end up outselling and making more money
And they
because
get repeat customers too, don't they?
everything, man. Because they got consistency. Consistency is the key versus the loud obnoxious one that's got the gift of the gab, because the loud obnoxious one never learned how to be consistent because they were so gifted.
So because they learned how to build up that trust, their customer lifespan was much longer, and also they were most likely getting referrals as well.
100%, man. They just become better. They become an actual salesperson, have an actual business rather than just the gift of the gab.
So they see long term.
Yep, that's it. They see long term, and as long as you can give them the do this, and this, they can stay at it. They know that this is going to take me 2 years to become good at. And so
Maybe
yeah,
that's maybe that's one of the biggest issues that people face coming into high ticket sales is that they're looking at short term chases, short term money
yeah.
grabs that they can
Well, it's
get.
just all the online gurus that sold for 12 months and then became an online sales coach. It's because that's what they're telling people, right? That's their ads. Their
Yeah.
ads like, come and have a look at Jeffrey, who joined me 12 weeks ago, and all of a sudden he's flying in private jets. Come
Yeah.
look at this guy who landed an offer last week, and now he's already made 16 grand in comms.
Maybe
It's
it's marketing that has brought the
yeah.
wrong people
I
into
think
the industry.
marketing's the thing that's brought the wrong everything into everyone. It's we're in, we're in a capitalistic world. Most of the things we have right now we don't need, but the marketing game has become so beautiful and so amazing. You can't fault it because they're doing their job and they're freaking incredible right now. But yeah, the expectation versus reality is very very skewed.
Yeah.
Everyone's expecting to get it and to walk into a role, and all of a sudden they've got a full calendar booked, and every single person's watched every single video that they put on the CEO and the business, and all of a sudden they talk for 2 minutes and they're closing someone, and making 5K a day and living overseas in some cool country, and that's what's perceived, but
Yeah.
it's not, man. It's not really what's happening behind the walls. Yeah. So yeah,
Well,
marketing's good, but it's
I'm
it's
living
also
overseas in a pretty cool country, but I'm not making 5K a day. Okay, so maybe half of the dream is true, but I think I'm doing okay though.
yeah,
And
man.
I've been a digital nomad for a year, so the freedom of being able to work remotely is
Yeah,
incredible. But
yeah. It
that's
is.
I came in first because I wanted to work remotely. Once I
Nice.
came into sales, and especially once I opened this podcast, I came across so many very interesting people. And there just seems to be something different about them. I think they have an entrepreneurial mindset or they just think differently. What have you
Mm.
noticed with some of the most interesting people and most successful people in this industry? What's something that differentiates them from most people?
Are you talking sales guys or the CEOs?
Either. Let's start with the sales and then we'll talk about the CEOs.
So sales guys to become successful, and I guess we deem success at what, over 10K a month?
Sure.
Cool. Let's deem it 10K a month successful. You can live in most countries and have enough to sort of live a nice life, right? Cool. So if you're making 10K a month as a salesperson, there's two things at play. You've either stumbled upon a good offer, that you're making money on pretty easily because the manager, the CEO, the marketing teams dialed things in, and you're a ticket taker. So you can do a little bit more than the basics, but it's more so the offer and the actual thing that's being sold at the back end that's making you successful. Like if you're on an AI offer right now, that's a very easy offer to sell. If that's
Okay.
dialed in, everyone wants to buy AI. It's the same as, when the gold rush happened over here in Australia, and if you were selling shovels, or gold pans, you were making money. You didn't have to be good at selling shovels, right? People are just ready to throw money at it. So there's
Yeah.
that one, and then on the other side of it, so there is the ones that have just gotten lucky because they've either networked well or they just fell into an offer that was working already, and they've just been able to ticket take and
Yeah.
get a bit better. So there's that side, and then there's the side of them who are actually working on things, and they've actually gone through something and learned. And I truly believe to make the 10K per month, it's all about faith in yourself and confidence in yourself. So they don't necessarily have to be entrepreneurial, but they have to be able to influence people that are jumping on the calls with them. So it's a
Yeah.
big difference on my one. We're talking to a 40 to 70-year-old, so middle-aged woman. Normally,
Mhm.
her kids are about to leave the house. She's never really had a lot of work. She really enjoys spiritual work, and then she comes and works with us and wants to find her passion and her purpose. Now her kids are left.
Yeah.
Easy to influence that one as a man. Like, it's a very easy one to influence, and then versus sometimes on biz development offers, we've got to influence someone who's a shark. They've already got a company that's doing a million a year or 2 million a year, or they've already got something that's working. They figured something out, so that's different to influence. So to on the other side of it, they've learned how to influence and sell the person that they're talking to day in day out. So that's the two sort of sides of where it's at to get to that 10K. Then for the CEO one, the difference between successful and those that have just built something, the successful CEOs and the people that I would work for have been around in business for quite some time, over 5 years.
Mhm.
They understand this whole thing as a business, not just, hey, I figured something out and I have a good brand and now I can sell. They've actually got, substance. If they went to sell their company, they could sell it as a company rather than a practice. So there's two things happening in a business. There's a practice and there's a business. The first thing is a business. So that operates without the CEO, and that can be sold. And they normally sell for 5, 10x multipliers, depending on, their MRR and how many clientels they have on. But normally around that 4 to 5x, 4 to 5x is what they can get. So the company's turning over 1 million a year. Someone will normally spend 4 to 5 million on it because they know that they can do that. The CEO doesn't need to be part of it. The sales team works, accounts works, everything works, the programs work. It all works without the CEO. What I see a lot is, and especially in this industry, in this world that we've built, majority of them are practices. And so a practice is where the coach, and it's normally a young dude, has gone out there, figured out something, and then he's like, oh, I figured this out. I can now make money. They actually most of the time stop doing the thing that they figured out and they just start selling courses. And it'll last for 18 months to 2 years. It's not really a business, it's a practice because they can't sell it without themselves. If they go to sell it to an investor's like, yeah, but you're the only reason why there's money here. You don't have ads working. You don't have a business that's working without you. If you go and take 6 months off, your company's going to turn to shit and it'll crumble.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. So the ones that win are an actual businessman, actually understand this. They figured something out. They continue getting better at their craft, but they build a business. The ones that will make you money quickly, but they're not going to be there in 18 months, 2 years, are the ones where it's a young CEO that's found something out, maybe in the AI space, maybe to look good, to lose weight, or they've built something in, to make money online or AI or something, new that's come up. They learn it, they build a good following, and then they start selling it. They're the ones that I would be very wary of.
Okay.
Because they're running a practice and they will fatigue, they will burn out, they will chop and change and go and find something else, and it won't be consistent every single month. You won't know that you're going to, hit your KPIs every month because they could take a month off and not spend on ads, or they could have a shit video, or they could, go and be away for 2 months and it doesn't work without them. So they're the ones that win versus the ones who win for a few years and then leave.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen offers and heard many stories about, the high ticket closers and the setters doing well, but when they try and connect with the business owner, he's almost nowhere to be found. There's no
Yeah.
communication between them, and so morale decreases, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it depends on what he's meant to be doing in the game, right? Because if he's being the CEO, he should be there with them. But then there should also be a chief revenue officer or a sales director or a sales manager that's the bridge, and he should be talking to the CEO daily, if
Okay,
not weekly. Yeah.
got it. Okay. So, who are some of your inspirations when it comes to maybe sales coaches or any public figures, and also business coaches?
Yeah, it's a good question, man. I haven't ever bought a sales course, which is quite weird. I've never bought one. I've sort of everything online's free, and I think the better way to figure it out is to sort of have a philosophy and then go and try it on 1,000 leads. I think that's like the best thing. When I first got started, I watched a lot of Dan Locke. He's gone quiet, but I watched a lot of Dan Locke back in the day on YouTube 5, 6 years ago. He was good then. A lot of Grant Cardone just to get the energy. I
Yeah.
like Grant Cardone's energy. I don't like his the way his I guess methodology on sales, but I like his energy. He's very fuck yes, let's get it done. Let's do this. This
Yeah.
is what we're going to have to do. This is going to be hard. I like that about him. The hustle, the mongrel. I obviously don't like the way he speaks to clients and that he thinks everyone can be sold. Jordan Belfort, I think is the best out of all of it. Obviously the movies and everything made him look a certain way, and he did do
Yeah.
some bad things. But from a sales perspective, I don't think anyone has got to that point where they can sell like him and command a room like him. I think he's one of the best. The modern day ones I don't really spend a lot of time on. I think it's all just regurgitated. I think there's nothing new under the sun right now. I don't think there's anyone they can try and get you with all their different marketing and jargon on the front end. But I truly believe they're all just regurgitating and repeating things. I really love How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've probably read that book about 15 times. I know
Yeah.
you talk about it's probably my favorite book. I think it's a really great thing. And I think, if everyone in the world read that, humanity would be in a much better spot, So
Oh yeah.
I really enjoy that book. I really enjoy its teachings, and really enjoy, what it can bring into your sales journey as well, and your sales craft. So yeah, that's sort of like the main, I guess, aside Belford, I think is the OG and the best. Obviously before that there was Carnegie and things like that. I never really got to, watch them live, or really, listen to them as much as I
Yeah,
have done Belford and Dan Locke and Grant Cardone, who were sort of our better ones. But
yeah.
yeah, they're sort of the ones that I've really seen and done. And then I guess motivators of, business and stuff. My CEO is really good. The guy I consult to, he's one of my best mates, and I've learned a lot from him about business. The whole actual aspect of the business, how simple business can be, and he's been really, really great as sort of someone to bounce ideas off, to learn this journey with, and really create, big things with him. He's been the one that I've seen the whole way through it, that's sort of, paved my way and showed me how easy this and simple it can be. Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of questions written down, but I only asked the first one. So, but our conversation has gone into very interesting directions. That's how I always want it to go on these episodes. I'm not too much of a scripted person, so maybe I'd be a good sales professional working for you.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, what are a lot of mistakes that people often make within their first 6 months that they just that prevent them from succeeding?
They think it's going to be easy, and it's not going to be hard work. I think that's like the first one's like, it's going to be hard, and they think they can have the life, and they think they can have it as easy as the person who's a top closer. But they don't
Yeah.
know that that top closer might have spent the last 5 years obsessing. That's the
Oh yeah.
big difference. I think that's the big difference. It's really good. I got into running, and it was like the first thing that humbled me in a long time. I was making really good money in my offer. I was really crushing it out, and it was very easy for me. Like, I could jump on any offer right now, and probably within the first 2 months I could be the top salesperson. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I just know the game well. I know the systems well. I know what I could do. I could implement things. I could make more money. And so the sales game's great, and I've sort of got to the point where it's like, cool, I can sell now. That's done. That's cool. I can go to whatever offer, and I can sell. I'm pretty bulletproof. And then I got into running, and I ran my first half marathon, and a 75-year-old couple ran past me holding hands, and it broke me, man. I'm super competitive, and I was just looking at myself like, you loser. And they just run past me, and I'm like, fuck. And in that moment, I sort of, I got really humbled, but then I reflected. I was the brand new one again, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, just because I was younger, just because I, played good sport back in my day, I thought I could just beat them.
Yeah.
But little did I know, they probably run the last 30 years of their life. They've probably eaten perfect. They've probably stretched. They've recovered. They've done their sprint sessions. They've done the hard work for the last 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And they can just turn up and beat me. And that's what happens with the salesperson. They
Yeah.
they come in, they buy a course. The course is, sold to them that they'll make 10K a month, because that's what gets sold. That's the dream. And then they jump in, and the arrogance and the ego stops them from working hard and learning and putting in the reps. I think,
Yeah.
my best thing that I did was, we used to have a scoreboard, and the scoreboard would put up, how much money everyone had made, but then it would put up how many outbound calls everyone had done for the day, and then it would put up how many outbound texts everyone had done for the day. And I was on the bottom my first 27 days of the first month I was in. I was on the bottom. And the things that were on top, though, was my outbound calls and my outbound texts.
Yeah.
So I just said at the end of every day, I'm going to work, I'm going to do 50 more calls and 50 more texts than everyone else on this team. So I just started doing that. And then they weren't working Saturday, Sundays. And I said to myself, I'll just work Saturday, Sundays. I'll work 7 days a week. This is my business now. So you add all that up, you start doing 50 more outbounds a day, and you work Saturday, Sunday. So 7 times 50, it's 350 more outbounds a week. And if 10% pick up or reply, that's 35 more conversations a week. And even if you shithouse, you're going to get sales from that. And that was my philosophy. I just had to do the reps. And people aren't ready to do that. They want to just have a booked in calendar. They think they can just close it. They don't want to do any outbound stuff. They don't want to work hard. They just want things to flow and be really, really simple and easy. They don't blood themselves first before they make that good money. Yeah.
Great, great.
That's the difference.
Now, there's one question I always love to ask before we wrap up.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to change it around a little bit, because usually I would ask, what advice do you have for the beginner sales professional coming in, trying to develop a career for themselves? But I actually want to ask, what advice do you have for CEOs or sales managers that are starting off their journey? Because that's a bit more daunting.
Cool. Well, the CEO, the more money they can save, the more money they can save, and the more they can build their systems out to not need them, the better. So their first hire, and the first thing they should do is really build out a salesperson / manager that actually is all in with them and wants to last with them and wants to build their teams out for them. Because if
Yeah,
you find a sales guy and start paying him really, really well as a CEO, he will do 90% of the things you are doing. He will make the courses better because he wants to sell better courses. He'll talk to delivery. He'll make the systems better, or that she'll make the systems better. They'll be there the whole way with you. And if they're paid well enough, they're happy to be the second in charge. I think that's the big thing is finding that salesperson as a CEO that actually wants to grow and build with you and wants their own company, but doesn't want to be the face of it. That's normally the perfect salesperson. You know,
got
they
it.
want their own company, they want to make a lot of money, but they don't want to be the influencer or the figurehead. So that's a really good person to hire first, and they'll do a lot of it. They'll build the SOPs, they'll do the hiring, they'll look after all the sales, because at the end of the day, a company's nothing if it doesn't have sales. Money's everything in the industry, right?
Yeah,
That's for CEOs. And then for sales managers, the moment you can get away from micromanaging and picking up on little stupid things is the moment that your salespeople will respect you. I think for a lot of sales managers, they should still be on the phone,
yeah,
and they should be the best closer, and they should be able to jump on calls and close for you.
yeah,
I mean, that's the biggest thing. They should be like the genius inside of the company that can jump in and can close for you, that can help you, that can do things. So the sales manager's job is to just literally make the salesperson way more efficient. So I just literally ask myself every single morning, how do I let these sales guys just sell? The amount of stupid shit that salespeople have to do, onboarding, managing their emails, managing their text messages, the more that I can outsource that, get someone else doing and do it myself, the more
yeah,
that my salespeople can just be salespeople.
yeah.
That's my biggest thing.
Getting
Because
a lot of the admin out of the way so they can focus on
just
their job.
just a shit, man. Because that's not needed. That's not bringing money in, right? The
Yeah,
more we can get them, if they work an 8-hour shift, they should be, making money for 8 hours straight.
yeah,
Yeah, and then the biggest thing is as a sales manager is if all of your salespeople are filthy rich, you're going to be rich as well. That's the big thing. Like make them rich, make them love it, and then you've got a really easy job rather than micromanaging, trying to pick them up on you said this one word wrong, all the shit that sales managers try and do. But just let them be
yeah,
free, let them have a business inside of the company, and at the end of the day, the most important thing is how much money do they make off how many leads they get.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, man, thank you so much for coming on this second time. I mean, the conversation was different this time. I I'm very interested in the business side of things now, because I'm trying to educate myself more. So I'm watching more
yeah.
Alex Hermosi. I'm talking to
Nice.
people about those things. It's very foreign to me because I came from a construction background. Like
Yeah,
oil pipeline construction labor is very different from like the
yeah,
CEOs
definitely.
that run a business, right? So I do find these conversations fascinating. And yeah, we found out kind of another side of you. Last time we were
Yeah,
speaking more about the sales process, and now we're talking about the business as a whole.
for
And what
sure,
I
man.
find so interesting is how there has to be congruency from the top of the funnel down to the bottom. And the customer
Mm,
success is so important that the trust built will generate a long customer lifespan, right?
100%.
And yeah, and also referrals. All right, Alexi, so glad to have you on again. Obviously, we're going to have you on a third time. I don't know
Yeah,
when.
we'll do, man. We'll do.
Anything that you want to say before we go?
Nah, man, that's it. Good that you're doing this. I think the more we can get good people out there and explaining what they do, it's definitely epic for everyone. Just cool.
Awesome. All
Nice.
right. Let's wave goodbye to the audience. See you later.
Bye.